All
You're
right.
luscious.
Well, just to begin, welcome back, everyone. A new year at Senate. We'll hope for great things. There are a number of information items which you can consult at your convenience, but there's one of them that I do want to tell you about, which is that Susan Finley of the Vancouver campus has won the Tim Omsme Award for Faculty Citizenship. This award is in its 5th year and was created to recognize exemplary civic engagement by a faculty member, and Susan very much embodies the nature of this award. She's consistently engaged in addressing issues of poverty and homelessness. She's implemented community-based education with people in tent communities, street youth, homeless, and housed poor children and their families. She continues to direct the at-home and at-school program she developed at the WSU Vancouver campus in 2002, in which over 2,500 local students have participated. Working with the Slow Food Southwest Washington program, Dr. Finley involves students in making mobile murals depicting food justice, local foods, and food traditions among local immigrant communities. And I could go on, but let's have a hand for Susan for a very well-deserved award.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Greg. I don't have the order down yet. First of all, we have the minutes, and so we have to approve the minutes. So were there any corrections to the minutes? No corrections to the minutes? Thank you. All right. Today's going to be a little bit of an unusual day. In the first meeting, we never have very much business to do because, well, you may remember, those of you who were here last spring, that we made all the discussion action items in the spring. And so that usually the way things go is something is a discussion item, and then at the next meeting, it moves forward to an action item. But since we made all our discussion items action items and voted on all of them last spring, we have no action items for today. We only have discussion items, and so we are going to have more time than usual. And so what we're going to do today is, so you come in here every time and you read your exhibits, you read your motions, you read your discussion actions and your action items, and you vote on things. But when I was a senator, I was not always clear about where all of this came from, or what it was about, or there was always someone here to speak about it who was very helpful, but the whole structure behind what was going on was unclear to me. So what we're going to do to make this a little clearer today is we are going to have the chairs of the various Senate committees, because that is the structure of our organization. We have the Senate executive, and this will all be clear in a very short time when Greg gives you a tour of our beautiful new website, but let me not skip ahead here. But there's the executive, there's 4 people on the executive, and then there's the steering committee, which is composed of the chairs of the most important, the most active in terms of things that come in here to Senate of the faculty Senate committees. And they each act in their various different areas and produce the various documents that you see and you vote on. So today, they're going to say a little bit to you. Let's see. Very good. So I think we're going to begin with, so now let me tell you a little bit about what Greg is the chair-elect. You elected him last year, so you may remember that. But over the summer, one thing that Greg did is he designed a beautiful new website for us. I don't know if you remember the old website, but it was pretty ho-hum, not exciting. Well, now it's beautiful, and it's very accessible and easy to use. And so Greg is going to give you an overview of the website, and that too will give you a little more of a view of the structure of our organization, and then the committee chairs will speak. So I'm going to let you take it away there. Well,
that's fine.
Yeah, I think so because I think, okay, here we go.
Hello, hope your semester is going well. This will only take a minute. So we have a new Senate website, not that exciting so much, but I wanted to point out a couple of things to you. First is, what we're really trying to do is find a portal for faculty, because we all know that we get inundated with so many emails, and we have WSU, Insider, all the news things. We're trying to figure out a way when something comes up, especially when something comes up in committees, such as site licenses for MATLAB and whatnot, we have a way of being able to push it to you guys pretty fast. So when we hear something from the provost or the president or another administration office, we can put it out here under the exec blog. And this will allow comment as well. So if there's some specific thing that you need to know, or you want to comment on some action that has been taken, this is a great place to do it. I broke up the old website and put about us, sort of the role of the Senate and Senate leadership. Like, I'm going to go through this pretty fast. And then today, we have the various committee sections, or the various chairs of the committees that'll introduce themselves. Under Senate meetings, that's a little bit different too. We have a meeting calendar. We have live stream, which I'm not going to click on because it'll be embarrassing because I'm being live streamed right now. And all this stuff we moved so it wasn't behind an authentication wall, so we're complying with sort of the requirements of our Constitution. The archived agenda is just a link to the old website because we don't have the resources really to pull those things over to the new website. Senate roster, manuals and policies. So we've broken out all the manuals and policies that impact us in faculty, and they're here both as PDF and sometimes in the Word Online documents. Then the Senate committees is probably the most important thing that we did. So here is academic affairs, and it lists the people that are on there and their term, their constituency and composition and function. So as you're going through this website, if you go through this website and you find errors, just shoot me an email and I can fix it pretty quickly. Other committees that Senate doesn't control, or, well, we don't really, but they're links. One thing I want to bring out, which we'll talk about in a second, is that we're working to try and partner with administration for really important initiatives that impact faculty and students. And one of those you've all heard of is things like the Open Educational Resources Project. There's about $100 grand going into that every year that is being distributed by a committee that we are now going to populate with both faculty and administration. Prior to that, faculty didn't have as strong of a voice as they should have. So we're formulating these kinds of working groups that are composed of both faculty and administration, and I would urge you that if you have any interest, or you know anybody in your units that have any interest in participating in the course values or course material value and effectiveness, notice that we're trying to get away from free and cheap to what's the best value, what's the best quality. So these are things that we'll post on the website when we have those going. We just had another one come up yesterday. So we're going to try and keep you aware of all the things that's happening. So again, I'm making a pitch. If you know anybody or have anybody yourself that wants to work on this committee, please contact either myself or Rebecca Vandervoort. Okay, so information for faculty, that's pretty much the same thing. These are all links. So the one thing I want to point out that is different is one of the problems that we had last year was senators would voice constituent concerns, and sometimes we would try and carry those, we always tried to carry those constituent concerns forward, but sometimes it wasn't on a really in a timely way, and sometimes things got delayed. And so as an aid to constituent concerns and tracking and whatnot, we now have a online constituent concern form. So that we don't get it wrong. I mean, it's really hard when everybody wants to leave at 5 o'clock and somebody's got an important concern. So now you can go online and there are no active constituent concerns, but you can look at them if they were, and you can log a constituent concern. And you can give us your information for contact if you want us to contact you. A lot of times if we need clarity on the concern, we'll contact you. These are vetted, so they don't immediately go public. One of us will look at them because it's open, right? The constituent concerns are open. But we're not going to repress. We're just going to avoid profanity, probably. So, or issues of parking. Anyway, and you'll also be able to search constituent concerns. So those are the sorts of the new things that we're doing other than things that have been carried from the old website. Any questions?
Can any faculty member post on this constituent?
At this point, it's open to any faculty member that can post a constituent concern. Oh, that's one thing I do want to say. Is one of the things that we oftentimes have is, thank you for reminding me, one of the things that we often have with constituent concerns is sometimes they're profound. And so one of the things that we've implemented in this new website is a voting feature. And one of the things that an agreement that we've gotten from the president and other administrative folks is that we will be able to upvote. The faculty as a whole will be able to upvote constituent concerns. And hopefully we're going to pilot test this. We've never tried it before. When it reaches threshold, which whatever that may be, more than 2, we will ask the relevant administrator to respond to the constituent concern. So this is all a way, because that we heard loud and clear last year that we needed to track this, and that was one of the things that I had attempted to do when I put together my sort of Senate manifesto last year, is making this more transparent. So that's it. Okay.
So let's leave the slide up with the chairs, and then they can come down in the order that they appear on the website. I just want to add in regards to constituent concerns that next time we'll be having speakers every time except this time. Well, we are having speakers, we're having the chairs, but we'll be having outside speakers every time. And one thing that I would like to know is what you would like these people to talk about. And so next time the president is coming, so if there's something you would like the president to address, please do put that in constituent concerns, or you can add that in the constituent concern part of this meeting, and we'll ask him. We're going to meet with him on Monday, and we'll ask him to address that when he comes on October 4th. So is the right slide up?
Yep.
All right, so I believe
It's Casey.
we'll begin with Casey.
You have to come down and make a big show. Where's cue the music?
Hi, I'm Casey Hildenbrand. I'm the I'm the chair now of Academic Affairs. I've served on the committee for 5 years, and this is my first year as chair. So to kind of an overview of the Academic Affairs, we're the committee. Most of our information either gets fed up to us from the catalog subcommittee, and we'll get information on either courses or requirement changes for either undergraduate programs or the professional programs. So that may include some graduate level stuff, but it's considered a professional program. And then we will make the recommendations off of those, reviewing those bulletins to you as the faculty senate for a discussion and then action item. Other things we look at from the undergrad or professional programs, admission requirements, their courses and curricula, new degree programs will also go through our committee if it is focused on either undergraduate or professional. We also look at policies and procedures for all the non-health related professional degree programs. And we also review a lot of rules that come out of the registrar's office and various other things. A lot of those are just updates to make them more current and relevant to what we're currently doing. I think that's pretty much, it keeps us busy, but that's pretty much all we do.
Thank you, Casey. So now you know her. So if you have any questions about these sorts of materials, you can shoot her an email. All of our information, how to get in touch with us, is on the website, so it's easy. Next, we'll be hearing from Greg Rose, I believe, but Greg Rose is...
Hello.
Yes? Is remote, so we'll be seeing him on the monitor.
I have video.
You have a video?
I do.
Oh,
I should be.
let's see
Am I
it.
visible?
Yes, yes. There we go.
I've even got my title. Hi, everyone. I'm the chair of budget. It's an interesting committee. It's not quite what any of us thought it was when we joined, and it wasn't what I thought it was when I was a senator. The budget committee evaluates three specific things and three specific things only. New degrees that are proposed, the moving of a degree to a new location, or a proposed centers, institute, and laboratories, otherwise known as a SIL. Those are the only proposals that have budgets required, and that is why those are the only proposals that go through budget. The Budget Committee only evaluates the proposals with regards to the budgetary portion, and we screen them for the likelihood of projected outcomes, the costs, revenues, and revenues within the proposals, the quality of the data provided, and any noticeable omissions in their budget logic. The evaluation of curriculum, et cetera, is the domain of subsequent committees that come after us before they reach the Senate. Depending on what we're reviewing, we move our recommendations and evaluations to Academic Affairs Committee, Graduate Studies Committee, and the Research and Arts Committee. Generally speaking, we work through email, and we have a set of rubrics, and we try to annotate everything and send that along to you with the updated proposals with some kind of column so that you can easily evaluate the exhibits and see what changes have been made for clarification and our recommendations that go with them. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has throughout the year. You can just email me. Thank you very much.
All right. Next is Francisco with the Catalog Subcommittee. Is Francisco here? Seems not. Let's go on then. Let's see. There we go. Okay, Greg, the Committee on Committees. Sounds very meta.
So as chair-elect, I'm chair of Committee on Committees, and the Committee on Committees' job is to staff the Senate committees. And anyone that we reach out to everybody for staffing requests. And again, we have a whole rash of 2019 people that will be leaving, so I will likely be emailing many of you. So yeah, that's the Committee on Committees. We hope to get this one done, and then we help with the presidential committees in the spring, but we hope to get most of the committee work done this fall, for next fall. And Denise, oh, there she is. Yeah, I'll just. Oh, yeah, it's the Faculty Affairs Committee. The Distinguished Faculty Address Committee is actually, that's not updated on this yet, but it has not yet met this term and has not elected a chair.
Hello, my name is Denise Yost. I am the chair of the Faculty Affairs Committee. The Faculty Affairs Committee handles all the light reading that is in the Faculty Affairs Manual. It's the faculty manual. So anything that is covered in the faculty manual that we'll take a look at. We also have requests to look at things that come from Provost's office, President's office. Sometimes we just give recommendations. Sometimes we're doing new policy or rewrites and edits. We also make recommendations concerning policy and appointments, promotion and tenure, and leave of absence, and other things like standards of performance, professional ethics, faculty rights and responsibilities, academic freedom, faculty compensation. And we also have a person that serves on Greg's committee on budget. So we have one member that will serve on that. Our committee is 11 members. I think that's it. Yeah, faculty affairs.
Next, we have the Graduate Studies Committee. Doug.
Thank you. So I'm the co-chair of the Graduate Studies Committee along with Alex Dimitra from the Vancouver campus, and Alex wasn't able to make it today. He's in math and neurosciences there. I'm with the College of Vet Medicine and the Allen School, and we have faculty from, 11 members on the committee, 2 of which are students, student representatives. Our principal assistant is Troy Jackson, and I'm pleased to always have Laurie Karras from the Graduate School, Associate Dean for the Graduate School in attendance. So we're the graduate equivalent to the Academic Affairs Committee in terms of our review of your courses, programs, curricula that come through from the faculty. Essentially, materials come up from the catalog subcommittee, and then again, we review these. So if, for example, if you have a faculty member making a major curricular change with an associated syllabus, we're going to go through that syllabus with them just to make sure all the boxes are checked and all the materials are there so the students understand the expectations for the course. We also work on programs and certificates, and we will dig through graduate bylaws to make sure, again, that all the major pieces are there as best we can work with. I would say that as a note to your faculty, when they are involved in doing some kind of an update to their curriculum, we have about a 30-day window to work with them, so we send comments back. If they take longer than 30 days, it really causes a delay in the process. So keep that in mind when you're talking to people about committee business. And are there any questions I can answer right at the moment? Thank you very much.
Next is the Library Committee, Kim Anderson.
Hello. Hello. So the Library Committee is basically the formal link between the Faculty Senate and the libraries. So we review and make recommendations from various issues coming from either the Dean of the Libraries or from the Faculty Senate, the Provost, to what the libraries. One of the things we do regularly, of course, is to look at new proposals for the SILs to see if they have any, to see what their status is in terms of the library resources, whether they require new resources or not. And that's probably the most regular, normal function that we have. And then we report to the Faculty Senate. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I've been on the committee for 5 years now and been chair for about 3 years.
Next is Tammy Berry of Research and Arts, affectionately called RAC.
Or John. I mean, I can come first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Yes, John, this is a new committee, Professional Health Sciences, just instituted this year.
Thank you. John Mattoon is my name. I'm a professor at the College of Veterinary Medicine and the chair of a new committee, the Professional Health Sciences Committee, which was formed, I think, with Greg's committees on committee, right? That's how I got to be here. So that committee does work. I can attest to that. Our role is to look at curricular issues, courses, and things that deal directly with the professional degree granting colleges. So College of Medicine, Veterinary Medicine, and Pharmacy. And so it's kind of been split out to not be part of the undergraduate or the graduate committee. I don't anticipate a lot of work for Senate. We have 3 items that will be coming to you for discussion in the next session. But that's pretty much where I'm at. I saw the chair was supposed to be elected. I guess selected is a better word. But anyway, I'm happy to give it a shot and see how it goes. So any questions? We had our first meeting yesterday, by the way. We'll talk about the new guy. Yeah, it went well. So anyway, thank you.
But it came to light last year that the health sciences might have special needs, and so now they have a special committee. Okay, and now to RAC and Tammy Berry.
I'm Tammy Berry. I'm in the Department of Psychology. This is my 3rd year as co-chair of the RAC or RAC. My other co-chair is Babu John Mariadas, and he couldn't be here today, but he is also helping me behind the scenes. Our committee has 15 members, 3 of which are graduate students. We just added a 3rd graduate student this year to have better representation from that group. And the other 12 members from the faculty represent all of the major academic colleges. And we have really good Spokane and Vancouver representation as well. Our main functions center around centers and institutes and laboratories, otherwise known as CILs. You've already heard those referenced a couple of times by other committees. We're the primary committee for approving and reviewing CILs. We actually have a lot of information on the Faculty Senate website about how to establish a new CIL, and it goes to, as you've heard before, budget and library, but also to us, and we review a comprehensive proposal, and also have the directors visit they actually come to our committee and present on their CIL. We have a rubric that we follow to approve those. And then those get recommended to you as faculty senators for vote. So you'll see those come up every once in a while. They're not very common, but they do happen. We had a couple last year where you had to approve a brand new one. Another thing we do that keeps us really busy is doing 5-year reviews of established CILs. So every 5 years, and there's almost 60 current Faculty Senate approved centers and institutes. We won't talk about the ones that aren't approved. But the ones that are approved have to submit a self-study every 5 years, and we review that. And again, we have a rubric, and we give feedback and get everything in place for a renewal. Those come to Faculty Senate as information items. So that you'll see those. In fact, we had a couple of those as information items earlier today. Another thing that we have a big role in is we're the lead committee overseeing the disbursement of new faculty Sea grants, but we do that through help of developing panels where members of the RAC will serve as panel leads, but we need people to be reviewers from across the university. So if you do get asked to be a reviewer for those, we really appreciate it if you say yes. Emily Brashear from ORAP usually make those requests. So that's a really big job, actually, dispersing those new faculty Sea grants, but it's really important that we support our junior faculty. We also do some other tasks, such as selecting the recipient of the National Resource and Conservation Endowment Fund, which is always very inspiring to see what our graduate students are doing that compete for that. And we do other tasks that are given to us, as others have mentioned, things that come to Senate that might be research related, get kind of funneled to us to comment on from time to time. Our functions on the website don't match what we do very well, and that'll be revisited this year because we kind of either need to broaden what we do or narrow what our function list is. But that gives you an idea. I did want to mention one other quick thing. Babu and I are not only co-chairs of the RAC, but we're also co-chairs of the SILS Task Force, which has been going on for over a year now to really look at revamping in a radical way the policies and procedures for the establishment and review of SILS. And so that's something you're going to see more coming to you as senators, but also just the university as a whole are going to learn more about this as it rolls out. So we have some approval meetings coming up, and then we're going to make it open to all of the faculty through forums and feedback before we send it up for voting and ratifying. But it is going to be some difference. We hope it's streamlined and more clear and gives really good data back to everyone. I will say it's probably going to implement annual reviews instead of 5-year reviews. So the functioning of the RAC may change a lot in the future and be even busier. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Tammy. And that is it. But kind of what I want to stress here is we are such a big organization, and we're big in the sense that, and I wanted to go back to, let's see if I can get us back here to the homepage. And what Greg has done here on the homepage is put pictures of all of our campuses. And we're big in this sense that, we have so many of these, so many developing campuses, really impressive campuses, and other locations as well. But we're also big in the sense that we have all these committees, and we do a great deal of the work of governing the university on these committees. And then it all comes back to you. So, but this is how we govern the university. This is our role in that. All right, back to the agenda. Gail gave me this wonderful copy of the agenda with really big letters, so please forgive me while I take a moment to find it. Ah, here it is. All right, agenda items. Now, additions or changes to the agenda. Thank you so much. I am not a sequential thinker, so I really appreciate these prompts, as you probably noticed. All right, are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I will move on to the agenda items. The agenda items, which are, as I mentioned at the outset today, just discussion items. Let me just note here something that our great executive principal assistant, Gail Anderson, has requested is if you have amendments, which this will probably not come up till next week when there are action items, but if you look at our action items and there are things that you want to amend, that's great, that's your role. But if they're at all extensive or complex, please bring them in writing, because we want to get them just right. And that's very hard to do just off the cuff. All right, so for our discussion items, recommendation from the Graduate Studies Committee to approve Graduate Major Change Bulletin Number 1, Exhibit F. And Doug is here. I don't know if Alex is here, but Doug, who you just met, Doug, wave if you're still here. Doug is here to answer any questions you might have about that discussion item. All right, next discussion item, recommendations from the Academic Affairs Committee to approve Undergraduate Major Change Bulletin 2, Exhibit H and H1. And Casey, who you just met, is here to answer any questions you might have about that. Moving on, 3, recommendations from the Academic Affairs Committee to approve UCOR Bulletin Number 1, that's Exhibit I. Again, Casey can answer any questions you might have about that. Recommendation number 4, recommendation from the Academic Affairs Committee to approve the proposal to extend the American Indian Studies Certificate to the Global Campus. Casey Hildebrand again can speak to that if you have any questions. And last, number 5, recommendation from the steering committee to approve the faculty senate committees as we constituted them over the summer. And we'll be voting on that next time. That's Exhibit K. Any discussion or questions? I assume you could speak to that, Greg, if there were any. All right. Moving on now to constituent concerns, and here again, I would particularly like to hear anything that you would like to hear the president speak to next time. Senator, and I can't read it.
Robert Crossler, College of
Crossler, Senator Crossler.
So a number of my constituents received from administration an email encouraging them to complete a request from the athletics department when they receive it to update athletics on the performance of any student athlete in their class at week 5 and at week 13. The goal is to ensure that student athletes are performing well in the class and to help them succeed. The email also encouraged my constituents to do better than last year's 58% response rate. This request raised a number of concerns. Number 1, student athletes signed consent forms to release this information. Is this really a consent, or would they not be able to play if they did not consent? If that is the case, is this really consent? Some constituents said they did not respond to this request due to not believing the athlete really consented out of free will. What they would like is details of how the consent process is done. Also, what are the benefits and drawbacks to forced consent and the classroom monitoring associated with it for the athletes? Another question is, why is this early warning system not available to all students and is only available to athletes? One person raised the question that is aware a viable solution to do this for all students. Third, how is the information used by athletics? Is it positive intervention, such as tutoring, help with time monitoring, or is it negative, such as threats and ultimatums? One constituent had reason to believe that athletes who were performing too well in the classroom were receiving negative feedback to focus more on athletics and less on the classroom. And number 4 is, how meaningful is this information in the fall when student athletes who play in the fall may have very well missed over half of their classes, that at 5 weeks there's really no good measure of how they're performing because they haven't had an opportunity to perform.
All excellent points. Would you mind emailing that to me, because it is very extensive and
Yep, will
I want
send
to get it right.
Would you like me to email it to you or upload it to the new website?
I would actually like both, Greg. Greg says the new website, so would that be too much trouble?
No problem.
Very good. I remember getting that email. So, other constituent concerns?
Hello, this is Glenn Duncan on the Spokane campus.
Yes, I call on Senator Duncan.
Yes, I'm a senator for the College of Medicine. I'm also a professor with tenure and chair of the Department of Nutrition and Exercise Physiology on the Spokane campus. I'd like to bring to your attention today 3 issues of concerns from my constituents. And I bring these forward not as complaints, but more as points that I hope they can generate some discussion. And these points are the D25 initiative, infrastructure at WSU, specifically as it pertains to research and PBL funding. In terms of the Drive to 25 initiative, there is a need for clarity on what exactly the Drive to 25 is. When my constituents and I discussed this, and maybe many of you have this same thought, we kind of envision a list of public research universities ranked from 1 to whatever, and WSU is listed as being in the top 25. But in fact, that's not the case at all if you read the Drive to 25 webpage. And on that webpage, the D25 outlines 10 different metrics. These metrics are being measured through the MUP, which is at Arizona State University. It's the Center for Measuring University Performance. And this is the point that I want to raise to your attention, that the way the Drive to 25 is articulated on the webpage is the following. MUP's top 25 public research universities are those institutions that rank in the top 25 among all public universities on at least one of the 10 metrics being cited above. And here's the important part, folks. Using those criteria, a total of 42 public institutions qualify as top 25 public universities. So it's unclear on what it actually means to be in the top 25. Is it actually a rank, or is WSU striving to be number 42 or 43 or 44 among the top 25 public research universities? So that's item 1. Item 2 has to do with infrastructure, and this relates specifically to research. There was a lack of research infrastructure at WSU for specific activities. One issue, and this is very pertinent to me as a constituent, is IT. I am the director of the Washington State Twin Registry, which is a large database of identical and fraternal twins assembled from Department of Licensing information. The Department of Licensing has undertaken an audit of all individuals who have contracts with the DOL. And at this point in time, I'm not able to obtain data from the DOL because there are no IT structures at WSU that meet the DOL's standards. And so I am actually kind of being used as a test case on the Spokane campus to try to figure out a way that a robust IT system can be put in place that addresses protected health information and HIPAA compliant issues, which are very critical for the College of Medicine as we embark on ramping up our research infrastructure. The kind of data we deal with specifically is PHI and HIPAA. Therefore, we need very robust IT solutions to take care of that data. Some other issues I'd like to bring to your attention are essentially benchmark to other institutions that many of my constituents have come from. These are both public and private top research universities in the country. And the issues largely are around, I would characterize it as inflexibility of some budget systems at WSU. Specifically, the WSTR, the Twin Registry, operates as a service center. And we've worked with folks at Pullman for now 3 years to try to come up with solutions and budgets that would actually provide the infrastructure we need to run our registry. And quite frankly, that's just too much time. It shouldn't take that long. Another example, and this is related to what I just said, timeliness. Certain aspects of the research infrastructure that are necessary, subcontracts, consultation agreements with consultants in the field. What would take, say, 3-4 days at the University of Washington or University of Pennsylvania or other institutions takes weeks at WSU. And time is very critical when we're talking about NIH grants. We have deadlines to meet, and it's very important that we're able to establish those contracts in a timely fashion. And then finally, I'd like to talk about PBL funding. The main issue is a lack of transparency on how PBL budget lines are determined. And one thing that should be clear from everybody in the room is that there really is nothing permanent about the P in PBL. This is a line that can be taken away, and it has been taken away. You all know 5% of each unit's PBL was taken away 2 years ago for the Grand Challenge initiative. The problem with the current PBL system is that it doesn't incentivize programs to grow. And the reason it doesn't incentivize programs to grow is that the PBL dollars don't necessarily track tuition in. So a program that has 30 students may get the same PBL whether they increase to 40 or 50. So there's no real incentive for units to grow. Another issue with the PBL funding model is that programs that perform poorly are in fact subsidized by programs that are strong programs and well-performing programs. This kind of creates this notion of robbing Peter to pay Paul, which I don't think is a sustainable funding model going forward. So again, in the spirit of bringing up issues in hopes that we can discuss them, perhaps we ought to be thinking about a different funding model, something like PBB, performance-based budgeting, or ABB, activity-based budgeting. In such a funding model, the funding actually follows the units that generate the revenue. So those units have a strong incentive to grow and to innovate. And to kind of wrap that up, there are certain units we know that might be susceptible to this kind of funding model. And there are other mechanisms that can fund them. For example, there can be endowments, there can be special pots of money, say from the provost's office, or there could be state line items to fund programs that are critically important to our educational mission, but would be susceptible to this performance-based model. And those are my 3 issues that I'd like to bring to your attention. And I want to give kudos to Greg for a job well done on the webpage. And I'll be happy to upload these issues to that page.
And send them to me too, if you would. It's so you started with the drive. Those all are excellent points, and some of them pertaining more to the president, some of them more to the provost. But I think when we have them in black and white before us, we can begin to break them down. And by the way, the provost is also coming to speak to us this semester, and he says he wants to come every semester because, because academics is his purview. So, but just please do send them, and there's a lot of meat there, and we'll start working on them.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Casey, no? All right. Well, thank you all for attending, for coming back, and I guess I will. So do I forgot. Do I move for adjournment, or do I just call an adjournment? The meeting is adjourned.